In a viral clip, after she made a foul play, Griner appears to mouth something rather controversial. It might be, though we don't know, trash and possibly white girl. Griner herself hasn't commented. Now, why is that? If you were being accused of making racist statements, I think you'd want to clear that up quickly. You'd race to the cameras and put out a statement on X to say, I said whack call. I didn't say effing white girl. But she's not. She's apparently totally comfortable letting those allegations linger. Maybe she's worried that the people on the bench or the people right behind her had a recording going.
If you thought WNBA debates couldn't get any hotter, Patrick Bet-David just set a new standard for viral podcast moments. On air, he delivered what can only be called a legendary reality check, aimed straight at Brittney Griner after her controversial take on Caitlin Clark and the league's rising energy. Griner's comments about race and crowd noise sent shockwaves everywhere, but PBD's response lit up social media even faster. The whole sports world watched as the conversation shifted from basketball to something much bigger.
So now,
okay, guy.
While this is taking place, Brittney Griner comes out and says, I am so sick and tired of the WNBA. It used to be a peaceful, small little thing. Now there's crowds screaming, hollering. This is disruptive. It's not allowing us to play the game. This is her quote. I don't know if you saw this or not when she gave that. Okay. Can you pull up that quote?
But Patrick Bet-David wasn't about to let things slide. He went straight for the jugular, reminding Griner about her time in a Russian jail and flipping her complaints about rowdy fans upside down. It was the kind of brutal, on-the-spot takedown that had everyone rewinding the clip and arguing over which was more savage. PBD's tough love about how any attention is a blessing for the WNBA, or his stone-cold reminder of what Griner survived overseas. Either way, you could feel the air leave the room. People couldn't decide what was more satisfying, watching Griner get a dose of perspective or hearing someone finally say what a lot of fans have been thinking for a while.
And Angel Reese and Brittney Griner, they walk around like the league owes them something. Even Ryan Clark's attitude as if, bro, where's the victimhood? These are freaking millionaires. Like, what are you talking about? It's attitude, it's no humility, just entitlement, and that's not confidence, it's arrogance with receipts, okay? If you want fans, if you want your league to grow, act like a professional, okay? The league already started underwater, and instead of fixing it, they're just poking more holes in the boat. And think about it, Brittney Griner talking all that trash. We traded the merchant of death for your ass, and you're out there talking shit and saying racist shit on the freaking sideline, and it's disgusting.
Let's not sugarcoat what happened on that podcast. Brittney Griner brought the drama, but Patrick Bet-David brought the truth. While Griner aired her frustrations about loud crowds and tossed in pointed remarks about race and Caitlin Clark, PBD kept it real. He didn't let her gloss over the facts, especially after her return from Russia, where freedom wasn't a guarantee and every day was a question mark. The debate kicked off when Griner painted a picture of the old WNBA as a sleepy league where you could bring a laptop to games. To many, it sounded out of touch, but for PBD, it was a chance to remind everyone that professional athletes exist because fans care. And if a full house finally brings energy, that's not a problem, that's the point.
And then the other quote, Rob, then I'm going to wrap this up and then I'm going to go to Adam. Put the quote of Brittney Griner, what she said about the NBA. This is so funny how all this stuff works out, right? She says, this is from Brittney. Every time we play her, there's this commotion, like this loud rumbling from the stands. Turns out it's people, thousands of them, just sitting there, watching on purpose. It's very disruptive. It's called a freaking game that they pay you money to play. Don't play the game. It's very disruptive. It continues. Brittney Griner voiced frustration in a recent interview, claiming that Caitlin Clark is ruining what used to make the WNBA great. Wait for this.
Empty stands?
Tom, let me just.
Go ahead, I'm so mad.
WNBA games used to be a chill, quiet place. You could bring your laptop and relax, maybe even get a little work done. But now it's like there's a large gathering of people watching us from the stands. Some of them are yelling crazy shit about what they're seeing, putting unfair pressure on us to score, like we're there for their entertainment, and that's pretty gross.
Griner took things even further, describing WNBA games as once being so quiet that fans could practically hold a meeting in the stands, only to now complain about people actually showing up and making noise. She talked about the unfair pressure of performing for enthusiastic crowds, almost forgetting that entertaining fans is literally the job. But what really caught everyone off guard was her claim that some cheers in the stands had light racism mixed in, a term that had the internet spinning. Instead of being energized by the booming attendance, she saw suspicion and negativity. That's when Patrick Bet-David dropped the hammer, reminding viewers about her dramatic journey through a Russian prison, where survival, not fan noise, was the main concern. He didn't just touch a nerve, he put the whole conversation in a new perspective, making Griner's complaints about American crowds sound painfully small by comparison.
Every time we play her, there's this commotion, like this loud rumbling from the stands. Turns out it's people, thousands of them, just sitting there watching on purpose. It's very disruptive. She says WNBA games used to be a chill, quiet place. You could bring your laptop and relax, maybe even get a little work done. But now it's like there's large gatherings of people watching us from the stands. Some of them are yelling crazy shit about what they're seeing, putting unfair pressure on us to score, like we're there for their entertainment. You are!
The real jaw-dropper came when PBD pointed out exactly what it took to get Griner back to the States. A prisoner swap that saw the US government release Victor Bout, a convicted arms trafficker whose nickname alone, the Merchant of Death, sends chills down spines. This wasn't some low-stakes paperwork move. It was an international event that dominated headlines and sparked debate across the world. The country traded a notorious criminal to bring Griner home, and now she was voicing concerns about loud fans at basketball games. The contrast was impossible to ignore, and PBD used it to drive home just how big of a reality check was needed.
First things first. Respectfully. Brittney Griner was in a Russian prison. You would think that somebody who is now free, back in America, on home soil, would not have too much to complain about, especially something like this. Fans in every sport. She described the fans.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what sport you are. It doesn't matter what sport you pick. That's how fans act in every arena. In every arena.
What made Patrick Bet-David's words really sting was the timing and the truth that came with them. Griner, after surviving months locked away in a Russian prison and being the center of a dramatic global negotiation, is now back on American soil, living a life most people only dream about. She's getting paid to play basketball, wearing the jersey she loves, in front of thousands of fans who finally care enough to fill up arenas. Instead of embracing that moment, Griner turned the spotlight onto herself, venting about noise and pressure in a league that's desperately wanted both for decades. The irony? The WNBA has been fighting for relevance, for sellouts, for national attention since its very beginning. Now, just as the league is reaching new heights, projected at $1 billion in value for the first time ever, Griner's worries seem more disconnected than ever. This is the exact environment every pro athlete says they want: packed houses, wild crowds, TV cameras, and a level of energy that can finally change the perception of women's basketball. And most of that energy comes straight from Caitlin Clark's headline-making performances. She's brought a new wave of fans, new sponsors, and a buzz that's lifting every player's paycheck, including Griner's.
So, and then when you, clearly she's not remembering who they let out to get her back.
The
or
Merchant
American
of
Soul.
Death.
The Merchant of Death. An arms dealer that wanted to kill American citizens, according to the reports. That's who they let out. Mm-hmm. For her. You would think that you would be smiling, you would be ecstatic, you would be happy, and something like this wouldn't faze you at all. The fact that it does is disturbing. I'll leave it at that.
But instead of celebrating, Griner focused on how uncomfortable she was with the new reality, especially when it came to fans calling out from the stands. She singled out one moment with a father and daughter yelling from the crowd, assuming the worst about their motives, calling it light racism without any proof, just suspicion. That comment, coming from someone who experienced real hardship in a Russian jail cell, left a lot of people baffled. Patrick Bet-David hammered that point home. For someone who knows what it's like to be truly silenced, it's hard hard to understand why she isn't savoring every ounce of freedom, every shout from a supportive fan, and every game played in front of real energy. The craziest part? The very crowds Griner finds overwhelming are the reason every WNBA player, including her, has seen bigger contracts, better endorsements, and more opportunities. The enthusiasm, the noise, the intensity. Those are the things that make sports worth watching and pay the bills for everyone in the arena. Instead of seeing that as a burden, PBD argued, Griner should be grateful. His reality check landed hard, showing just how out of touch her complaints sounded at a time when the league is finally winning the battle it's been fighting for years.
So the WNBA says they want to get paid more. They're saying this year they're going to make $1 billion. That's what they're saying, okay? Now that Caitlin Clark is hurt for 2 weeks, did you see ticket prices? Insane. Let me read you the ticket prices. Caitlin Clark absence is having an immediate impact beyond the court. According to data shared by Yahoo Sports via TickPick, prices for 2 specific Indiana Fever away games against the Chicago Sky and the Washington Mystics dropped sharply after Clark was sidelined. Before the injury, the lowest ticket available for Fever's matchup in Chicago was $86. For the game in Washington, fans needed at least $41 to get in. After the news of Clark's absence, those get-in prices fell to $25 from $86 and $14 from $41. What the hell is going on with WNBA that they cannot handle all this attention that they're getting, as well as the hate and anger towards Caitlin Clark?
The data Patrick Bet David brought up made everything even clearer. When Caitlin Clark went down with an injury, the entire market reacted instantly. Ticket prices for Indiana Fever games took a nosedive. What once cost nearly $90 in Chicago plummeted to $25. In Washington, prices went from over $40 to just $14. That's not a small dip, that's the bottom dropping out. The message was undeniable. Clark is the engine powering this entire wave of attention, and the league's fortunes rise and fall with her. Griner's complaints about loud crowds felt even more tone deaf in this light, since the reality is that for most of the WNBA's history, games were played in empty gyms. With so little noise, you could hear conversations from the court. Players used to talk about finishing their homework or even taking naps on game days because nobody was there to watch. Now, thanks to a new superstar and a changed league, everything is different. The pressure to perform? It's called being a professional. Fans who show up, cheer, and get loud. They're not a problem, they're a paycheck. PBD didn't let Griner hide behind old excuses or blame outside forces. He reminded everyone that after 25 years of scraping by, the WNBA is finally growing, finally relevant, and finally making money. Because fans actually care. Griner's longing for the quiet old days is exactly why the league stayed in the shadows for so long. To hammer the point home, PBD compared the WNBA to every other major sport. In the NBA, NFL, MLB, and even NHL, players face rowdy, passionate, and sometimes hostile fans every night. It's part of the game. That's what real professionals sign up for, and that's what creates moments people remember forever. He argued that Griner's mindset, wanting the perks of being a superstar without any of the scrutiny or pressure, shows just how out of step she is with the new reality of women's sports.
How can you say, I'm sitting there and people are yelling, thousands of people, it's distracting? You're playing basketball in an arena. It doesn't make sense, Tom. They're doomed. They're doomed, and good for them. And Angel Reese and Brittney Griner, they walk around like the league owes them something. Even Ryan Clark's attitude as if, bro, where's the victimhood? These are freaking millionaires. Like, what are you talking about? It's attitude, it's no humility, just entitlement, and that's not confidence, it's arrogance with receipts. Okay, if you want fans, if you want your league to grow, act like a professional, okay? The league already started underwater, and instead of fixing it, they're just poking more holes in the boat. And think about it, Brittney Griner talking all that trash. We traded the merchant of death for your ass, and you're out there talking shit and saying racist shit on the freaking sideline, and it's disgusting.
All of this boiled down to a much bigger message. Gratitude matters more than grievances. Patrick Bet-David made it clear that the WNBA is finally breaking through, not just because of years of hard work, but because one player, Caitlin Clark, managed to turn casual fans into diehards and packed arenas into must-see events. The numbers don't lie. TV ratings, ticket sales, and merchandise revenue have all hit record highs. That's not a lucky break. That's what happens when a league finally finds a superstar who brings people in. Griner's comments about light racism in the stands were especially troubling to many because they suggested the only reason for all this new excitement was something negative. PBD acknowledged that race can play a role in sports coverage and fan support, but he didn't let that excuse get in the way of the obvious truth. Clark's game is electrifying, her attitude draws crowds, and she's earned every bit of her stardom. Instead of embracing the new wave of opportunity, Griner seemed determined to focus on the downsides, forgetting how hard it was to get here, how many empty seats she played in front of for years, and how lucky the league is to have this new energy. PBD's final point landed hard. Musicians, actors, and pro athletes don't complain about crowds being too engaged. They celebrate it. In a business where attention equals income, the only real problem is when nobody cares. The WNBA finally has a reason for people to care, and it's up to the players to keep the fire burning, not try to put it out.